Well, hello everybody. How are you? Welcome to Friday. I hope that you're doing great. If you're here and you're following along, it would be so awesome if you told us where you are listening from and the ages of your kiddos if you want to share that. So I'll start, and we have two kiddos. Our eldest is 6 and our youngest is 4. He just turned 4. And we are hailing from the DC metro area. And we have been here almost 2 years. So anybody else who's here, say hi. Let us know where you're hailing from. And also, let us know the ages of your kiddos. I think my husband's here. Is that you, Lewis? I think that's him. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. As people come in and join, they'll hop on, I'm sure, whenever they can. So the first thing, I just wanted to say thank you for making time for this class. And it would be so awesome if we had more folks here right now, but I'm sure they'll pop on. I wanted to take a poll. What time does your child usually go to sleep? So if you want to write something, feel free to write it. I'm gonna make sure you guys can hear me. There you go, welcome. Hailing from DC, we've got 2 kids. Our eldest is 6, our youngest is 4. And if you are there and you wanna share the ages of your kiddos, hop on. And our first question is, what time does your kiddo go to sleep? If you wanna share that, let me know. So our kiddos, typically speaking, go to sleep around 7:30 or 8. We, of course, have to back that up kind of earlier to get the routine started, but that's typically when we try to get them to go to sleep. Now, the second question is, what time do you wish your child would go to sleep? And this is a loaded question for sure. Wouldn't it be awesome if they just went down just beautifully at 7 o'clock and slept till 7 in the morning the next day? I have good sleepers by and large at this point. They sleep well, but typically they do get up somewhere between 6:20 and usually 7 o'clock. If they go to bed really late, they might wake up after 7. So they're about 11 hours, So if they go to bed at 7:30, they're up around 6:30. If they go to bed at 8:30, they might be up around 7:30. So, but overall, things are pretty consistent with them. All right, so here's my next question. What would you do if you had an extra hour or 2 hours from the time that you want them to go to bed from the time that they actually go to bed? What would you do with that? Would you Netflix binge? Would you do dishes? Would you spend time reading and journaling? Hey, Jenny. Hailing from North Carolina, right? And my first question was, what time does your child go to sleep? And second, what time do you wish your child went to sleep? You can share if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. And my last question is, what would you do with the time that you gain? Yes, North Carolina. Yes, I just passed through there. A little over, a week or 2 ago? So what would you do with that extra time? So if your kiddo goes to sleep at 9:30 now, but you can get them down at 7:30, what would you do with those 2 extra hours? Would you do Netflix binging? Would you do a workout at home? Would you snuggle with your honey? Would you take a bath? You would sleep. Oh yeah, I love that. I love that. So we talk about this because if what you're doing in that extra time fills your own bank, then it helps you be the kind of parent you want to be, a good hair day kind of person, a good hair day parent. It really helps for the next day, and then you can parent with, being more of a mindful present parent. And so I wanted to transition here and mention this book to my friends out there. Now, I'm going to talk about our story in a little bit, but I wanted to mention this is called The Executive Functioning Disorder. And from what I gather from the book, it seems a lot like what is typically diagnosed as an ADHD or like a sensory integration issue for kids that may fall on the fringes of the spectrum. So when we talk about autism, there's this wide range of skills and abilities and issues and problems, and not all kids with sensory issues actually are on the autism spectrum. But one thing that's really challenging is to receive support services. In many cases, the child has to be considered as a part of the spectrum, and some doctors, that's the way they do it anyway. They say, you know, there's no hard and fast division between autism or not autism. That's why they call it spectrum-related disorders. And so you could have a child who's highly functioning, smart, verbal, functioning by and large, but have some sensory integration issues and be more on the fringes and not actually what we classify or typify autism. So I hope that makes sense. So I really love this book because it gives some practical, a really philosophical approach and also practical approach to some parenting issues. And I think if you read this book, you would find a lot of it just helping you ground yourself as a mindful parent and being more in the moment. So I'll talk about this in a minute. So let me first jump into our own experience and why I'm talking about this, because we learned the hard way that we were not prepared for so much of the challenges that come with parenting, and that's okay. I mean, there's never going to be one book that's going to prepare us for everything, but you know, I wish I had known some of these things from the very beginning and been able to start implementing these routines and techniques and special sensory tools from the beginning so that it would just be our normal. So we went through a period of time, around 18 to 24 months, that our eldest developed some people might call it sleep regression. Now, me looking back, I see that his ability to manage his emotions was, it's just like, it seems like he was doing okay, and then it just seems like he wasn't. So the things that he was doing that he liked to do, he was fine. But if you asked him to transition to something that he didn't like to do, his ability to make that transition and manage his emotions in that thing was not fine. So nap time was a really big one. Leaving the playground, you know, leaving Barnes and Noble, leaving a friend's house, having to take a nap, having to go to bed. So that's kind of where I want to jump in and say, on one hand, okay, in some ways, the way I was brought up even, there was this idea that it's good or bad, or an idea of listening or not listening, or the idea of submitting or rebellious. It was a very kind of black and white, dichotomous kind of antithetical forces. So kids either fit into one box or the other box. And now, especially after reading this book and after the kinds of things that I have been trained in, I feel like it's not a fair representation of all kids in all situations at all times. What I believe now to be true, especially in our case, is that there is some self-will, okay, but that's not always a bad thing. You know, I'll give you an example. Our eldest, he's very conscientious about washing his hands. And he was in a classroom and they said, here's your snack. And he said, I need to go wash my hands. And they said, no, there's no sink in here. You're not going to the bathroom. You're not washing your hands. And he was like, yes, I am. And he tried to run out of the classroom to go wash his hands. Now, it wasn't good that he was defying orders on one hand, but on the other hand, the fact that when he came back in, he wasn't defiant or rude or mean to the teacher. He was just like, well, I'm not going to eat because I didn't get a chance to wash my hands. So that's that self-will. We could look at that and say, oh, that's not submission, or, he's being hard-headed and strong-willed. And do I not want him to have those qualities when people around him are making choices to text and drive or to engage in risky behavior? do I not want him to say, no, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to have some self-will. I'm going to stand up. So some of this self-will is not bad. And I don't think we should put kids in a box like bad, good, submissive, not submissive, and make it an antithetical thing. What I believe now, after reading a lot of books and the training I've been through, is that a lot of kids struggle with managing their emotions when they don't get their will. And it looks like a will issue, and in some ways it is. But it's also our job and role as parents to help them learn to manage their emotions when they are disappointed. And so this is where I want to pick up in the book before I move forward. So forgive me, I'm going to read just a short little snippet because he says it so good. I can't say it as well as the author. I'm sorry, Rebecca. Okay. So instead of focusing on how to control your child's behaviors and feelings, conscious parents, or the mindful parent, let's say, seek to understand how to get to the root of the behavior or the feeling. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. For children with difficulties independently meeting goals, traditional parenting tactics of rewarding good behavior and punishing bad behavior can backfire. Often the child does not yet have the skill set to meet those expectations, and punishment then leads to resentment and shame, and also lack of confidence. I would add that. Not that there aren't appropriate times for rewards and punishments, there certainly are. However, you should take into consideration whether the problem behavior is a will problem or a skill problem. Most often, there's a lagging skill that needs to be taught. Becoming your child's partner and understanding the challenge and collaborating on solving it together can strengthen your relationship with your child. So they're struggling, they're having a hard time transitioning, and instead of us like getting frustrated and angry and mad and saying things or belittling or, why do we deal with this every night? Just things that are negative, trying to think about how can I partner in this problem to help him or her learn to solve her own problem, to manage his or her own emotions. So I'll read one last thing and then I'll give you an example. We'll move on. When you get stressed and overwhelmed and frustrated, it can be difficult to be present, respectful, and reflective before acting in response to your child's behavior. Just as you want to be patient with your child as they learn new skills, it's also worth reminding yourself that you should also be patient with yourself on this journey of parenting. So especially if this is a new concept. And I feel like even more these days there are support systems and education and positive parenting and things like that, which is great. But at the same time, there are a lot of folks that are struggling who don't have access to specific parent consulting resources, and that's partly why I'm doing this class. So let's just imagine for a moment. So I want to put it in a real day context. How do you feel when you're in the groove, you're in the zone, you are slaying your to-do list, you've got one thing checked off after another, you haven't been this productive in days, and you are so close to finishing that thing that you have to do. And then your child is in the other room and just got into something and made a big, huge mess. Or they're on the toilet and they need you to wipe their bum. Okay. They're mommy, mommy, and they're screaming and they're yelling and it's noisy and it's loud and you're in the zone and you're like, I've got all the thoughts right there. I just need to finish my thing. Do we not just sometimes get like frustrated and, I just need to finish this thing. Like, give me a minute. I'll be there. Mommy, 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 mommy. Wait a second, I'll be there. Mommy, 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 mommy. And then at one point, you can't even hear your own thoughts anymore because they're just screaming, mommy, 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 mommy. Lewis did this, Joel did this, wipe my bottom, wipe my bottom. Joel got into the blah, 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 fill in the blank. So we don't just cheerfully get up, okay, honey, I'll be right there, and go do that thing and come all back. Because we know how much energy it takes to get to that sweet spot, and now we're coasting and we don't want to have to drop back down and figure out how to get back in the zone, and it creates anxiety and it creates some stress and it can create some friction and some irritation inside. And that's because we're doing our job, whatever that is at the time. Maybe we're parenting, maybe we're doing real work, or maybe we finally have a moment to just mindlessly scroll on, you know, catching up on emails or catching up on bills or catching up on social media or whatever it is. And so I think it's really important to remember we as adults have some of these similar struggles and challenges. We don't throw a fit about it. We don't necessarily go and do it cheerfully, but we don't throw a fit about it because we've learned how not to throw a fit about it, right? At some point in our life, we probably did blow up over those sorts of interruptions, or, you know, we had to switch gears and it wasn't fun and it wasn't pleasant. And so that's a very real struggle. I am the first to say it's a real struggle for me because I work from home so often. And because I do so, and when I get in the flow and the kids are getting rowdy, it's really hard for me. So that's where the grace comes in. You know, we have to have grace for them, have patience for them, have patience for ourselves, and know, like, whatever it is that's our job, we get frustrated too, we get irritated too, we get anxious too, and their job is to play. Like, that literally is their job. That's what their brain is doing at this point in time in their life, is playing, and that's how their brain is developing. That's how they're connecting thoughts, cause and effect. They're in their imaginative world, they're creating, they're talking, they're playing, they're socializing. These are really important skills, and basically that's their job at this point in time in their life. That is their job. That's their number one priority. It's playing so they can learn, right? And so it's an important thing, and when we ask them to transition away from that, that's not easy. Okay, so I just want to start with that. We have to have grace for ourselves, and understanding how difficult it is helps us have more compassion for our kids in this. All right, now on to what I call ABA in our story. So when our son was 18 to 24 months, we started seeing some things pop up. Long story short, we ended up with a developmental pediatrician at West Point who evaluated little Lewis, and he helped us get the help we needed. So in a nutshell, his diagnosis is a spectrum-related diagnosis. It's along the lines of executive function. So he struggles with certain things like task initiation, response inhibition, focus, time management, working memory, flexibility, self-regulation, completing tasks, and organization. So these are some major mega skills that you need to be successful in life. And while Lewis is very smart, very social, and a great communicator, he still has a lot of challenges in this area, and it's important to know that these are neurological challenges. This is not a case of the will per se. This is something that there are some deficits in some of these neural pathways that the more he does it the right way, the easier it will become. But just like learning to write our name or learning to write the letters of the alphabet, it takes lots of practice. So we have to be patient with them because we don't expect, you know, our kids to get it right away. It's the same thing with these softer skills of time management and working memory, you know? So in this process, we qualify for something called Applied Behavioral Analysis, ABA therapy, and we have a wonderful provider who's been with us since little Lewis was 3 years old. He just turned 3 years and 2 months. And one of our very first goals after potty training was teaching him to transition to bed. Now, mostly 9 times out of 10, the kids transition to bed fairly easily, and I don't have to do all of these steps that I'm telling you because we're in more of a flow now and he's used to it. But in the beginning, it did not look pretty, and this is not for the faint of heart, but if you stick to it and you're consistent, we're pretty consistent about this stuff, like pretty consistent. So if you stick to it, it can be really, really positive. So just be encouraged. Stick with it, make tweaks that work for you, but I'm going to share the sorts of things that have helped us from an Applied Behavioral Analysis and ABA, that's what it stands for, ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis, positive reinforcement approach. And then we'll talk about some techniques. So one of the things that you can do is start thinking about rewards. And this can cause you to stop and figure out what is the currency of your child. So at age 2 and 3, and especially that age, even up to age 4, even now, our kids love to bowl. They love stickers. They love, of course, like gummy bears, anything like that. And they love going to the bowling alley. So we had a card, and I was gonna bring one, but it's really not rocket science. We literally had here, I'll just take this out kind of as a demonstration. We literally had just a card that we put up on the wall, and we had like circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for each time Lewis had a successful transition into his room or into, using the bathroom was one. Taking a shower and cooperating, putting pajamas on to go to bed was another. If he did it without throwing a fit, he could put a sticker or draw a smiley face inside these circles. And so we had like a line, 5 lines, and he could a smiley face or sticker. And once he filled the whole row, he got to go bowling. Now this works especially well with older kids, but with the younger kids, you have to give an immediate reward. You can do both, but you're gonna need something like this to do a positive reward. Another option is like, if they fill up the whole row, they get to pull a prize out of the prize box. Make it a fun thing. You can go to like Dollar General or something like that, close their eyes and pick a prize. So for filling a whole row, and they get a prize every time. Like try to do something immediate, like whatever it is. You can do stickers. My kids love up downs. It was like, woo, being thrown up in the air, like boom, or Big Bear, Little Bear, a game that Daddy plays with the kids. Anyway, something, whatever it is, there's got to be something positive and immediate. So you have to remember that. You can make little prize cards, positive parenting, whatever you want to call it, cards for your kiddos, and put it in the room, like right in the bathroom or right in their bedroom where they can see it. And then they know, and you have to be consistent with, if they have a reward, you actually go and do that thing. Okay, have an emotional support option for yourself. This is so important. Make sure as you start on some of these things, again, have a realistic expectation for yourself, because this is not going to just magically fall into place and be easy in 2 days and now you're on this new thing. You got to expect some challenges, expect some resistance, expect some pushback, but know that it's worth it, and over time with consistency, I want to say it will work. And then have an emotional support for yourself. So it may not be pretty and it may not go very well, especially in the very beginning. So have your secret stash of your favorite whatever. For me, it's chocolate. Like there's a special place of chocolate in my closet, and it's where I can just cry if I have to and grab some chocolate if I'm having a bad moment, a really hard moment. Have that there so you know I'm not gonna lose it with my kid. I'm gonna keep it together. I'm gonna stay present. I'm gonna examine my feelings. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna react to the situation. I'm gonna dial it in and be present with this feeling. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling irritated. Okay, take note of the thought, but not react. And then when you can, go to your favorite place and grab that stash. Know that you have it, and just knowing that you have it helps you push through the moment. Like, I can get through this, I can get through this, I can get through this. Your pep talk, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. You have to stay strong in this, especially when they're throwing a huge fit. And here's the good news. As the fits go down, your resolve goes up. So you have more energy to sustain it when it finally does. The poop hits the fan and things are falling apart. You're gonna have more energy. You're gonna have more internal resiliency and resolve to handle it, because it's not happening all the time. That's the best part. I remember very clearly after we'd been working a few months in ABA, and then little Lewis had just had a really hard day or a hard situation. And I remember saying, you know what? I did great, because he's not having 28 fits a day. This was our first big fit, and I feel so much better because I'm not drained by all the fits. So know it will get better. Just have that resolve, have that place you can go and like retreat when you need it. Okay, remember your why. It's not easy to do something new. It takes a lot of work to learn a new skill. So remember your why. Remember, I want my kid to go to bed at 7:30. Right now they're going to bed at 10:30. Those 3 hours in between, if I have those 3 hours back, I can connect with my spouse. I can recharge my own battery so that I can be that much more patient for my kids tomorrow. I can, work on that business idea that I've been wanting to do. I can reach out to a friend who is really needing me right now, and that refills my bank. So being positive, being consistent, and remembering why you're doing this is so important, because again, you're going to meet some resistance. It's not going to come easy. It's not going to just magically fall into place, but remembering why you're doing this will help you get through it in the meantime. Okay, so we're going to move into the real stuff. You know, the first time I heard something about being intentional on your day and planning your day, I think I was probably in college or maybe newly married. And it was actually our pastor's wife who started mentioning that like she would not let her kids take a nap in the late afternoon, because then it would push back their time to go to bed at night. And they had 8 kids. So for them, date night looked like kids are in bed by 8 and mom and dad had 2 hours together from 8 to 10 p.m. and that was their time to connect. So she was like, look, we're very intentional about what we do. If your kid always falls asleep in the car at 4:30 and then doesn't go to bed at like until 10:30, then trying to find a way to move those errands around, or buy those things on Amazon Prime, or do those things when the kids are in school, or figure out something so that that doesn't happen. So you're moving literally your whole day. And you know what? I will tell you, not everybody understands this. Not every family member understands this. And when you're traveling, it is not easy to keep the routine, but it's really important to do your best, but also give yourself grace when you need to give yourself grace. But by and large, we try to plan our days very intentionally so that we get our sleep right. So we're gonna plan backwards. So for us, our goal is 8 p.m. We know we need about 2 hours to get this whole thing in motion. So if it takes the whole 2 hours to do everything like that I'm gonna talk about, then I've got a backwards plan. Now, one big tip is first to find a way to do the routine. Once you get the routine down, then start backing up the time to start the routine. So this is the best time of year to start a new plan because it's dark outside, still pretty early. If it is super bright outside in June or July and you're trying to get your kids to bed at 7:30, good luck with that one. Starting something new in June is probably not a good idea. You can start the routine, but maybe you're going to start inching it back in September, right? Or maybe at the end of August, right? When school's about to start, right? So starting to do dinner at 6 instead of 7, just starting to move everything back. It takes a little while to do all these steps. Alrighty, so here's our routine. Now remember, this is our routine, but you can tweak this and add things and take things away, whatever works best for you, and you might have to try a couple different things, and that's okay. So Jenny says it's about 10, wish it was 7. Okay, so that's good to know. What would you do? You would sleep in your 3 extra hours. Yes, I hear a lot of moms who say that their kids don't go to bed till 10 or 10:30. Some kids still wake up really great in the morning with a great attitude and they're very compliant and they get off to school without a hitch. That's awesome. But a lot of parents also struggle in the morning with their kiddos not wanting to get up. And that means they are not getting enough sleep. And so that should also help motivate us all to make sure they're getting enough sleep because it's so important for the brain. It's also really important for the immune system. So if it helps a little bit with the guilt factor to say, look, this is for their own good. It's not just about me having more time, although having more time is great. So, I can be that much more mindful and restful and at peace as a parent than if I didn't have that extra time to myself, or we as parents as a couple didn't have that extra time. This is really important for us so that we can parent better and parent more mindfully and parent more positively. So it's not just about us, it's also about them. They're going to be in a better mood. They're going to be more compliant. They're going to be more well-rested. Hopefully, they'll be sick less often. They'll be making the growth chart because they're having enough time to rest and grow the brain while they're sleeping. So all that's really, really important. And building in these positive habits for sleep will stay with them, in my opinion, their whole life. So it's important to start now. So for us, it depends on your kiddos. I'm just going to be the first person to say we're not super strict about homework at our house. Our kid is only in kindergarten. But some parents have kids who they do have homework, and the schools are very, very, very serious about that homework, okay? So what I recommend is making sure that you have some designated time and expectations for homework first, then the other thing. So it's hard, but if you try to flip it the other way of play outside, then do homework, it's really challenging. Or watch TV, then do homework, it's really challenging because they're going from a high preference activity, something that they love, and they're trying to transition to a low preference activity behavior wise. That's when you start to see things like so it's hard because I really want our kids to be outside and to play, but when it comes to academics, you have to weigh what are the needs of your child. Are they going to be more focused with homework if they have a little bit of time outside, and then will they transition to do homework, and then you can promise them TV time or promise them outside time or promise them parent time after that, and it works great. This is where you have to figure out what works best for you. So in an ideal world, what I would recommend is homework first, then that fun activity. So for us, we live in an area there's a lot of Lyme, and this winter has been really bad. So the kids aren't outside as much. They do go sometimes, they ride their bikes, maybe we take a walk as a family, but they will watch TV at our house, but it's not until the late afternoon when they come home from school. So in an ideal situation, get that homework done and then that fun activity. Then, here you go. There's a couple things you could do. After that, turn on some calm music. Highly, highly recommend, just like instrumental music. If you like worship music, this is an atmosphere of peace in your home. Instrumental music, anything like that will do. And then after that, when you're ready for dinner, go ahead and dim the lights or turn down the lights. Just turn them down. If you have flameless candles, believe it or not, that's a great idea. And kids love that. Yes, we get to eat with the candles. It's like a special thing. We're doing something special from now on. So here's the trick. When it gets dark outside, your body, or outside your eyes and your face, your body starts to produce, or ideally it produces melatonin. So if you can start tricking the body, this is the number one tip here, that it's nighttime, that it's bedtime, by just turning off the lights at dinner, you're gonna start the body's biological process of winding down for sleep. So that's the number one tip. Turn the lights down at dinner. If you can do a flameless candle, or if you're into candles and that works for you, do candles, calm music, and something just that's really soothing for you. We try to eat around 5:30 to about 6:30. Even tonight we have wonderful friends over, and my husband's just great. He knows about the schedule, so he's just being proactive. Puts food in the oven, brings it out. We fed the kids. They're eating by 6:30 because he knows we're gonna have to try to transition them to bed, and we want them in bed around 7:30. At latest 8 o'clock. So here's another thing that you can do. Now this is optional. And if you have any concerns, you can talk to your family doctor or to your pediatrician and ask them, but I'm just going to share with you what we do, and that I talked about this with our kids' pediatrician. So we use we don't have to use it all the time anymore, but 1 milligram of melatonin, and they make them in gummies. They make them, Zarbee's makes them in pediatrics. There's several different makers that do this. I just would say try to make sure there's no artificial dyes in those formulas, and really honestly 1 is what she said. The 1 mg is fine. So that's optional, and you don't have to do this, but you might want to try this along with the lights down, because it helps the body start producing the melatonin, which starts to turn the brain off. That helps you go to sleep. So it's a really good tip. Okay, the next is a meaningful connection. So this goes back to sensory overload. So when the child has this high preference, low preference, and they are not they're not able to really control their emotions. Maybe they're flopping down or running or screaming or hitting or slamming doors because they don't want to go to bed. What they associate with bedtime is really important to their brain. So if you, again, figuring out what is your child's currency in speaking that language, maybe it's building house or playing with the train set or playing Jenga or Uno, some kind of quiet activity, and it's something that they know that they get to do all the time. It's something that they look forward to doing, not screen time, not television, not video games, nothing like that. No screens, no blue lights. You don't want blue lights at this point if you can help it at all. So finding a meaningful activity. Another thing you can do is let them pick. So you have 3 options. You say we can play Uno, Jenga, or build some trains, and let them pick. This is great because it helps them take ownership of that activity and helps them transition because there's something they look forward to doing. So they've got that. So you can do 20 to 30 minutes of a calming game, a Lego activity, and always stay positive. The other thing that we do is we often set, we don't have to do it as much anymore, but we also set timers so that they know, and they have Alexa, so they like to go and set timers. They'll say, Alexa, set a timer for 20 minutes, and then you can say 20 minutes, okay, set one more timer for 5 minutes, okay, 5 more minutes, and then they know. So there's not an abrupt transition, like cutting into their thought. They start to already transition in their head that this thing is going to happen, needs to happen. So it helps them a little bit more rather than it being a surprise that they're going to have to transition to this thing. So I think that could also help. And the other thing is, even in this, when you set those timers, you say 5 more minutes, 1 more minute, whatever you want to do. It depends on how much you need, like 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. And they go transition to the next thing. That's when you want, like, let's say it's bath, right? Oh, you did such a good job. You went and put, you got in the bathtub, and make a big deal out of that. Use a sticker, put it on the, card, and, make sure they're well praised for that thing, and just staying really, really positive, and always stressing the rewards. Remember, after this, we're going to take a bath, but you're going to get a sticker because if you do it with a good attitude. And another option is to let them pick their pajamas, even taking them to the store and letting them pick, like Thomas the Train or PJ Masks or their favorite towel, even letting them have like ownership of the things that are associated with bedtime can be really helpful. That's just my opinion. So then with bath time, you want to make it fun. Whatever that is, again, knowing the currency of your child. Some kiddos, look, I'm getting tired talking about all this bedtime stuff. Another option is to do reading the book while they're in the bathtub, because it's almost like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. If you have a way to not have the lights super blasting in the bathroom, that would be really great. Or if you have a way to just do bath time in the morning, it just depends on your kid, whatever works best for you. Again, like have some of their favorite books. Maybe they have a bedtime book, or maybe they have a favorite Pete the Cat. Our kids love Pete the Cat. And let them pick their favorite book. And while they're in the tub, there's something distracting them from, like, I'm getting ready for bed right now. And it's something, again, the more you do it over time, the more they'll look forward to doing it. And then one other tip is using an essential oil in their bathtub. So I'm gonna give you my top 3 recommendations and let you know you can do a cup of Epsom salts, and you can get that anywhere. Like Amazon Prime is usually where I get it because they ship it. Excuse me, and I don't have to carry something super heavy. But anyway, so yes, so we use, this is a great one. This is Serenity, and it smells so good. It's so calming and so peaceful. Another really, really good one is Lavender, which is just, again, so calming and so peaceful. And then a really happy one is this one. My kids love Citrus Bliss. This is one of their favorites. Wild orange is great. Tangerine is great. Lime is great. Like grapefruit is great. There's a lot of really happy, uplifting citrus oils. I tend to like the citrus a little bit more in the morning for waking up in positive mood, because if you have kids that aren't well regulated in the morning, this is a really good suggestion for that as well. But nevertheless, smells so good. Citrus Bliss smells like sherbet. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, and then another thing you can do, of course, bubbles, like bubble bath is great. Reading a book, having their favorite toys, having their favorite pajamas, their favorite bath towel, you know, anything that you can find to make that bath time really fun. Another thing is a lot of kids resist bath time because they have sensory issues. Maybe they're afraid of the sound of running water. That's a big one. Another one is water in the face. That's another, like, I hate that, but especially little Lewis, there was a point in time where he just really did not like bath time, and I finally figured out he was afraid of getting his hair washed and getting water in his face. So, you know, just being aware of that can help you talk them through it and partner with them. Well, I know you're, you know, worried about water in your face. What can we do? What do you think? Could we use a washcloth? And then they say, oh yes, you know, okay, let's cover your eyes, or, you know, something like that. So they feel more invested in finding a solution. So just know sometimes it really isn't like, I don't want to take a bath, as much as it's, you know, like anxiety, or maybe it's like a true sensory issue where they just don't like the feeling of like the splashing in their face or around their eyes. Okay, bedtime. So they're out of the bath finally and they're ready to go to bed. One of the things you can do is prep their bedroom with a low lamp. So IKEA has these awesome lamps that they're like stars, and you just flick on the light. So it's like a big night light, probably about that big. So it helps illuminate the room, and it's blue, and it just kind of dims the room, and it's enough light in there to be able to read a book to them. So I like that. I can get in there and try to read a book. The only problem is I start feeling like I would have turned into a pumpkin if I lay down with a book with them. This is partly why I recommend reading the book when they're in the bathtub rather than in the bed, just because it makes me so sleepy, and I just can't keep up. So one of the things that we like to do, and you can make different variations of this, but during the time that they're in the bed, because they pretty much start to fall asleep right away, we try to do a bedtime prayer with them. So one of the things, if you are in like encouraging prayer with your kids, you can do that. If you want to take it a different direction, one of the other suggestions you can do is, you know, what 3 things are you thankful for? And it was so cute when we started to do this with our kiddos. You know, they'd say, oh, Lewis came up with the best answers. He would say organic food, peanut butter, playing outside. You know, it was so cute. My bed, you know, or my house, daddy, mommy, you know. So I would just try to encourage him to say out loud those things that he was grateful for. So I think that's a really good kind of even of a mindfulness technique, and also a great way to help ground them and help them feel happy and positive as they're going to sleep. So that's another great thing. So there's a couple other things while they're in bed or before they get in bed, whatever works for you. You can use a sensory brush. Now, it's hard to see this, but it's kind of like one of those brushes that you would maybe use for like cradle cap, you know, really getting in there and massaging that dry skin. Look, see, I'm getting my hair done while we're at this. It has a really soft kind of a spongy side, and then it has a bit of a bristle, and it doesn't hurt at all. It's so gentle. So it's really, really gentle. So anyway, so all you do with the sensory brush is you just brush it. Just up and down, up and down. And now the best parts, arms are great. Feels so good. I'm gonna put myself to sleep. Arms are great. The back is really great, like back and shoulders. You should try this. You should really, really try this. This is one of the best things. I just love it. So, you know, arms, and you go up and down and up and down. You don't have to just go up like you're dry brushing. So you just really just dig in like that. And you can cover the whole space. Now you don't want to do the belly, abdomen, but you can do the legs, the front and back, and just circles or up and down, figure eights, you know, whatever you want to do. This is fantastic, and it really helps calm the central nervous system, because it's like when the central nervous system is overstimulated, this, believe it or not, helps desensitize that overstimulated central nervous system. Also, another thing, if they like this, what you can do is stash it in places that you go all the time. So, for example, you know, put it up high in the bathroom. So after they wash their hands, you can just, you know, up and down on the back, up and down on the back. And it really helps to calm them. This is one of the tools that our occupational therapist said. Do this 3 times a day for a bare minimum of 1 minute. So it's like, how do I remember to do that? Oh, well, stick it in the bathroom. Every time they're done, just mommy, and just bring it 1 minute, put it back. So 3 minutes of your day with this thing, it will change your life. It's amazing. You will love it. The other thing that we do, that we have, and now we don't have to do this as much because the kiddos are doing great, but we have the roller. So this is so easy to make. Just take fractionated coconut oil, which you can get on Amazon Prime. It's not fancy. It literally, you can type in fractionated coconut oil, and I mean, I've bought several different brands. Most of them say all natural and pure. If you want an organic one, you can go all fancy and get organic, but just remember, coconut's on the inside of the plant, so it's probably not getting doused with chemicals, so you're probably okay if you don't, you know, if you just want to do an all natural one without any extra chemicals. So like add it to the mix afterwards. So here you go. You've got your roller. You want to fill it halfway, and then you can do 5, maybe at least halfway, but maybe 5 drops. If you want the dilution rate for little kids, let me know. I can tell you exactly how much it is for, like, you know, infants after like 2 months of age and up. I can let you know. But for us, by and large, I'm at like half of a bottle, and then maybe 5 to 10 drops of your favorite essential oil. For us, again, we love Serenity. That's one of our favorites. Lavender for calming, for going to bed. And then if they're in a poor mood, like when they wake up, then the Citrus Bliss is an also like super fantastic oil that they will love. Okay, so that is that with the rollers. What you do is you roll it on the bottom of their feet, and then you just massage their feet. And it's really great. I mean, most kids love that extra touch and love and care. I mean, I know I do too, and I wish I had more. Like, I love when my kids want to snuggle. And some kids aren't like snuggles, but they like different types of touch. So they might not want to be enclosed, but they really do crave more touch. And something like this is so soothing and so calming and so healthy and so healing to their body, and being very intentional about, you know, the brushing and the essential oil with the, you know, foot massage can be so great, especially if you get into a routine and you do these things on a consistent basis. So always, always, always praise good behavior. Every little positive step forward, you want to boost their confidence for those things. You did such a good job, you know, taking your shower. I'm so proud of you. And just being very specific. You did not throw a fit. That was so good. Or like, Joel didn't want to get in the shower today, and so I said, does it hurt? No. See, you're doing so good. It doesn't hurt, because he has a little boo-boo on his knee, so he didn't want it to get wet. So he gets a little anxious about getting in the shower if he has boo-boos, which he's a boy, so he seems like he's always got some kind of boo-boo. So I just encourage him, see, it doesn't hurt. You're doing so great. We're going to be out of here in no time. Like, just staying positive. And, you know, I can say that now because it's not as hard as it used to be, but trust me, sometimes they just don't want to do it, and it is really hard. And you can just remind them, yesterday we did this without any trouble. Look at all the stars you got on your chart. I bet you can get 2 more stars for being such a good listener, like just trying to stay as positive as possible. It really does go a long ways. So when you're lying there and you're doing your thankfulness moment or you're doing your prayers, you know, having some time to snuggle. I know our little one wants to snuggle. That's his thing, and I just think it's the best thing in the world. Little Lewis wasn't a snuggler per se, so I kind of missed out on that, you know, after he wasn't breastfeeding anymore. He was just done with me. Oh, I miss those days. But, you know, snuggling is great. And one of the other things you can do is just set a little timer on your phone in your pocket to vibrate after 15 minutes, and just let them know, you know, you're right there. One of the struggles and challenges, and every family has to make this decision for themselves. I sometimes stay there until the kids fall asleep because I'm dead dog tired, so I don't get up after a few minutes. But there could be some dangers with staying there till they fall asleep, and one of those is that they don't learn to regulate themselves and allow themselves to transition to sleep mode on their, in some ways supported by us, but on their own. So one of the things, if you want them to do the latter, to, you know, facilitate them, support them in themselves putting themselves to a sleep mode, is setting that timer and letting them know, I'm going to be here, I'm setting this timer, I'm going to be here for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to, and sometimes I tell the boys, I tell Joel, I said, you know, I need to go get a little bit of work done. Can I come right back and check on you in a few minutes? And he's like, oh, mommy, nuggle. You know, he wants to snuggle, but I've spent my 15 minutes there, you know, and if I keep laying there, I'm going to fall asleep. So that's where you have to use your own judgment. For us, you know, he might wake up in the morning, come snuggle, but he doesn't sleep in our bed, and, you know, I don't go, by and large, if he's sick or something, I might sleep in his room just to make sure he's okay, but, you know, he sleeps by himself in his own room, and he's doing great, you know, and I don't necessarily have to set a timer, but in the beginning, you might have to, you know, if you usually stay there for an hour, well, until they fall asleep, then you might start with 45 minutes and they're really close to falling asleep, and they can do that last 15-minute journey into sleep mode by themselves, then back it up to 30 minutes and back it up to 15 minutes. So you've had your time, you've done the brush, you've done rub the feet, you've done your thankfulness moment or your prayer time, and the light is on. It's not a dark place. They know that they're safe, they know that they're loved, they've been snuggled. Setting the timer and letting them know it's not a secret, not a surprise. You're a big boy, you're a big girl, and mommy's gonna come back and check on you. Now, this is the hard part. This is the tough love part, okay? Now, every family is very different, and you have to do what feels best for you. But in our family, by and large, we're at the point where, you know, they don't come out of the room, you know, they don't throw a fit, but there was a time when at a certain point, we've done all the things, and now it's time to go to sleep. And I'm still the parent, and he's still the child. He's very much loved, supported, cared for, safe, and that's when we leave and we close the door or we crack the door, and that's when we're like, we'll come back and check on you in 15 minutes. So we have a baby gate. They couldn't get out, or the door closed with the, what are those called? The child locks, you know, not locks, but you know what I'm saying. So they can't just open the door, whatever it is, you know, for you at the appropriate age for your kid. So maybe you have just a baby gate so they can see you, you can see them, make sure they're okay. We always have baby monitors. So even if there is like a child, what are those things? Because our kids, if I wasn't watching close, little Lewis could like bolt out the front door of the house. So that's one of those things. We had to put the locks way on the top, right? Just so he wouldn't run out the front of the house and like get hit by a car. So whatever is right for your family, you have to do what's right for you. But for us, we just close the door. I mean, it's not locked. It's just closed door. We've got a baby gate. And he may be able to open the door. He can see out. We can see him. We've got the baby monitor. He's safe. He's fed. He's clothed. He's gone to the bathroom. He's had his food. He's had his snacks. He's had his bath. He's had his, you know, sensory time. He's had his snuggle time. He's had his book. He's had all the things. Now He's got to make that choice to go to sleep. He just has to learn. And so there were times when he would throw a fit and scream and cry and get upset, and this did not change overnight, but he did great. He did great after a while. He really did. He did great. You know, it was not hard. It was not easy in the beginning because he would cry at the door, you know, after he did all the things. He would cry at the door, but most of the time he might cry for like, after the first couple times, he might cry for 5, maybe 10 minutes. That's it. You know, we would go and check on him. You're okay. We love you. It's time for bed. You know, you're okay. And keep reminding him, you're getting stars on your chart, you know, and it's okay. Like for us, crying is okay. It's totally okay. It's throwing a fit that we differentiate. So kicking the door, slamming the door, throwing yourself on the floor in a way that's dangerous is not okay. Okay, lying on the floor and crying is okay. We're fine with that. You're upset, you're disappointed, you can cry. That's okay. But you're not coming out of the room. And that's it. And we will check on you, and we're not coming back in. And that's it, you know. So this is what we did. It did not look pretty in the beginning. And in the beginning, he might have cried for a while. You know, I don't even remember, honestly don't remember how long and how many days or weeks it took for us to transition down. But I will tell you that in time, it got less and less, and we were consistent, and we were positive, and we were supportive, and we had the baby gate, but we had the baby monitor. We could see everything. We were right there with him. He's not hurting himself. He's not hurting anybody else. Then he may not like it. He might be crying, but it's okay. He's okay. And we would just say that you're okay. We're right here. We love you. You're doing great. You know, you're going to get a star in your chart. And you get to go bowling. You know, we don't need to throw a fit. And so we just check in on him. So in the beginning, you may say, I'll come in 5 minutes. I'll come check on you 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But I guarantee you, if you stick with it in time, they will get to the point where they're not throwing a fit. Now, here's another variation, another option. Some parents do this, and my parents did this at a certain point. We didn't throw a fit or anything, but at a certain point in a certain age, they allowed us to play quietly in our room, as long as we weren't, you know, hurting anything or hurting anyone or escaping, going out, or, you know, making a mess in the house. It was fine. So, you know, when I was probably, it was by the time I was reading age, and again, my parents had us go to bed at an earlier time. I don't remember how early, but it was okay. If we did all the things, brushed our teeth, put our pajamas on, and taken our showers, all the stuff, and went to bed, and we weren't tired, and we just wanted to read books, we were allowed to read books. We were allowed to have those toys and read books. And little Lewis, it's the same thing. To be totally honest, you know, we had the light, the little light, the kid's light, and he could turn it on and he could turn it off, and there's plenty of light to continue to play in his room. We never ever made him ever stay in his bed, in his room. If he went in there and he played for a little while, he might have cried, and nobody would come and check on him, and then he'd just be like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna go play. He would start building, and he would start doing Legos. He might cry and go back and do Legos, but eventually he learned that if he wasn't ready to go to sleep, he would just play and entertain himself. And within a few weeks to a couple of months, I want to say probably 2, maybe 3 months, by that point he was used to it. And so because he was going to bed, you know, earlier, he would wake up a little bit earlier, and he would be tired earlier, and he'd be ready to go to bed earlier. So it was this whole cycle. So he was fine. So I don't want you to think we ever like locked our kid in there, and we did have the door closed. We did watch him. We did come back and check on him when we needed to. We were positive and we were affirming, but you know, we didn't allow him to throw the fit outside the room, and we gave lots of positive reinforcement when he made the transition, even if he made it with tears and with crying, as long as he didn't throw a fit about it, we were okay with it. We never made him stay in his bed. We were fine with that. As long as he was playing quietly, or if he cried a little bit, we were okay. And he's okay. And now, like, he's great. It's like 7:30, he's in bed. He's doing great. You know, his sleep cycle has been regulated. The other things we try to watch sugar. That's another one of those triggers for meltdowns in our house, because it spikes the blood sugar and then drops you off a cliff, and you're just like, oh my gosh. So we try to watch sugar. If you're gonna do the sugar stuff, like, lunchtime is the time to do it, breakfast or lunch. But once it comes to dinner, just really watching the sugar. Dyes are another thing. A lot of kids are very sensitive to artificial dyes, also to sweeteners, and that can actually set off, you know, just the chemical processes in their brains and their little bodies, and they're just go, and not able to settle. So that's another little tip that we just try to watch. So I think I have, my last thing, I've covered everything for the kiddos. Let me show you the diffuser I have. The last tip of, there's actually one more tool, sensory tool, and then I'm gonna give you an adult sensory tool. So this is my doTERRA diffuser, and this is a fantastic value for the money. You can do whatever you want. So for us, it's probably about 4 to 5 drops if I'm using one oil in a small room. It might be more than that if I'm diffusing to a really big room. Again, choose your own way, and if you're doing this for kids and you just want to start with 1 drop, there's no harm in that. Just starting with 1 drop's great. Using the Serenity or lavender is perfect for falling asleep. For waking up, I love the Citrus Bliss. So you can also diffuse, put this up on a shelf in the room so they can't get into it and can't play with it, because trust me, they will play with it if you leave it on the floor. So that's one thing. And the other thing that I brought down was my sensory machine, sound machine. So this has several different modes. It also has a light. So this is the perfect thing if you're not handy dandy and you don't know how to fix those lights to the wall and you just want to get something like this. You can, it's so great. You can put lights on, sounds on, and some of it rotate, where you have different things. They even have a way to change out what's on the wall. So these are like little animals and stuff. It's so cool. My favorite on this sound machine is the Ocean, and you can get something like this, the Spa machine, sound machine. This is a kid specific one from Amazon Prime, and then you can set the time for it. So if you don't want it to run all night, you don't have to. We do in our case. There's another thing, there are some different clocks to that. In the morning they'll switch on to like birds chirping, or you can decide to have it have a different sound. But anyway, another really good idea for that. So they know when they're allowed to get out of the room. That's a whole nother class in itself. Okay, that's it. So those sensory, remember we have the sensory brush. You can just Google sensory brush, or Amazon Prime sensory brush. That's another thing. And then if you're interested in essential oils, specifically just getting started, I have this is a fantastic kit because it also comes with a lavender, lemon, and peppermint. And there's a great ebook I can share with you that will include like 100 ways to use those 3 oils. So that's fantastic. If you have questions, let's say you already have essential oils but you don't know how to make a roller, let me know and I'll send you a video about how to make rollers. If you need a dilution for kiddos, you don't have that already, just let me know and I'll send this to you, that dilution rate to you as well. And then last but not least, what do you do if you can't sleep? What do you do if you're having a hard time transitioning to sleep? That's another issue in and of itself. First of all, my good friend Dr. Laura Ritchie has a class all about, you know, sleep for adults. So I'd say check YouTube, check her channel. Dr. Laura Ritchie's fantastic. But there's a couple of great tips. The Serenity Essential Oil is one of my best and most favorite, and the easiest thing I can say is take a bath, put this in there, turn the lights down, put a candle on, rub it on your feet. You know, I just do 3 drops of fractionated coconut oil, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 drop of Serenity. Rub it, and then rub it on my feet or right over your heart. That's one of my favorites, or right on the back of the neck, right in here. So that's my favorite thing to do. The other thing you can do is try some of the doTERRA essential oil supplements. So there is one that's called a Serenity. So you can actually take a Serenity soft gel. It's non-habit forming, so if you're concerned about, different, getting addicted to like a pharmaceutical grade sleep aid, you don't have to worry about that with Serenity essential oil. So you can make your own in a veggie cap and put a drop in there, or you can actually get and top it off with fractionated coconut oils, or you can actually get the supplement. Another one you might try is Copaiba. So Copaiba is all things calming for the central nervous system. And so if you have questions about either of those supplements, I'm happy to suggest something to you. And then just remembering to take care of yourself, having time to write and to journal out your feelings so that once you get in bed, you don't have monkey brain. That's one really good thing. And then, having those regular massages, or again, remembering that if you get your kiddo to sleep, you have more time for yourself, which is really helpful because you're not going to bed feeling stressed because you have all these things that you needed to get done that you weren't able to get done because you were dealing with toddler like meltdowns and things. So last recap, my last tip for all of this is go gentle, have patience with yourself, get the routine going, and then go ahead and back up the time. And I may have mentioned that a little bit before, but it's super important and very helpful because it's hard to do all these changes all at once. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave it there, you guys. I hope that you have a fantastic night, and if you have any questions about the successful sleep transitions, please let me know. I'm here to help, and I'm happy to help. Until next time.